Today's episode of RBR is sponsored by Stereo. Download the app now and join me for live shows. So guys, I'll be the first to admit that of recent times, I've been becoming a little bit despondent about AMG and AMG's future, particularly new cars, but I think more so the future of the brand. What with so much focus on reducing noise in the EU, the move towards smaller engines, the huge amount of entry-level AMGs with the 35s and the 43s, the massive focus on SUVs, and then news of like the four-cylinders C63 happening in the future, and then even the Halo car, the Black Series, sounding, well, rather quite poo. I've started to think, is the brand that I love so much slowly beginning to disappear? And is there no hope for the future? That was until this very special car arrived a few days ago and reminded me why we still might have a little hope despite what we've heard about the future. This is AMG CLA 45S shooting brake. And I think it encapsulates all the things that we love about AMG. This is quite a niche product. It's never going to sell in huge numbers compared to, say, the Coupe, which will no doubt sell more, or the A45S. But it has a form factor that we love as petrol heads. It's a fast wagon, or even better, it's a shooting brake, which is a form that's usually reserved for much more exotic cars. It's also absolutely gorgeous, and it's one of the few cars that in recent times AMG have just gone balls out on in terms of making it as aggressive as possible versus entry-level models. That's not at all the case with something like the E63 that looks so similar to the E53. No, this CLA 45S looks really, really brutal, especially from that front end. Being a pseudo wagon, it's also got far more practicality than anything else in the 45S range. It's the only shooting brake that you can buy at Mercedes now as well. It's also stupidly fast, much faster than what they've quoted in the official figures. Wait to see later what it launches at. And of course, at the heart of every AMG is the one-man, one-engine concept. This car has the most powerful production four-cylinder in the world, built by one man in a Falterbach, as is the tradition. I drove this flat out yesterday. I'm still excited about how good it was, so I can't wait to show you. Let's dive straight into this, the shooting brake CLA 45S. Guys, today's episode of RBR is sponsored by the new social media platform known as Stereo. I've just joined. Guys, download the app, follow me on there. It's a great place to have live podcasts where you can go one-on-one with a special guest, and you guys can also send in your voice note questions and we will have to answer them. It's a pretty amazing place to have a discussion. For example, recently, I had YouTuber TGE on with me and we had a really, really cool chat together. Have a listen of some of it.
Yes, maybe. You can go first.
I will go first. In terms of new cars, I'm going to ignore the 992 GT3 because everyone and their mother-in-law loves it and wants it and needs it. So that goes without saying. Going back to my AMG bias for a minute, there is one AMG that I'm very excited about, which is the new Mercedes SL. I don't know if you heard about this, Tom, but the SL has been, as you know, it's been dead for many years, maybe 10 years. It's been a useless car under the shade of the AMG GT. Now it's undergoing a whole conversion. So like the G-Wagon project was taken away from Mercedes and handled by AMG. Now you guys are going to absolutely love the next episode. It's on the 28th of February and I've got Mr. Rory Reid, yes, the ex-host of Top Gear and current head of the new Auto Trader YouTube channel that's absolutely blown up since Rory has joined with his creative style. We're going to be talking about the differences between TV production for cars and YouTube production and which one he prefers. Then we're going to go into a lot of recent car news where he holds quite a few different opinions to me, some quite controversial. So it's going to be a great chat. Please do download Stereo, follow both myself and Rory, and I cannot wait to field all your questions this Sunday. See you soon, guys. So guys, I want to start by saying this. This car is my favorite out of the entire compact AMG family. From all the 35s to all the 45s, I love this one the most. And hopefully by the end of the review, you'll kind of understand why. But I can already see the comments that this is a niche product, there's so many, why not the A45, why not the CLA, etc. And you'd be absolutely right, there's so many compact AMGs now, aren't there? You've got all of the 35 cars in their respective forms. And then you've got every single of the 45S, all very capable, all of which we reviewed
on the channel, starting with the A45S, which is the rude little hatchback, and then this car's coupe version, the CLA 45S, which is a bit more grown up. This adds another layer of practicality, perhaps merging those two cars into one ultimate car in my opinion. But the true litmus test of that is seeing whether it's as enjoyable as the crazy A45S that I drove in the UK not long ago. It was one of the fastest cars that I drove last year. So let's first break down the CLA 45S for those of you who don't know. I mentioned the engine being the most powerful four-cylinder production engine in the world. And it's true, it's built in a brand new engine factory in a Falterbach that is absolutely gorgeous to look at by itself. Of course, the engine is the superstar, and it's a super important engine for AMG because it forms the basis as well of the future C63 four-cylinder. So it's a good start that it's the most powerful four-cylinder production engine in the world. This S model produces 421 brake horsepower, but that's just the headline figure. It's 40 HP more, of course, than the previous gen, but what's more impressive is how much they've changed. They've taken, say, the engine of the previous car or what you find in the 35 AMG and changed the entire structure of it. So now it's shifted 180 degrees the other way, with the exhaust manifold and the turbo sitting on the rear instead, and your air inlet and the aerodynamic front of the engine. And this has been done to improve the cooling of the engine, so there's less ducting and transference needed for the air to get where it needs to go. And cooling is super important for this because it's still a single twin-scroll turbocharger in this car, so it needs to be kept cool. And there's three different methods of cooling in this. We've got air cooling, of course, as we already mentioned, through the aerodynamic front cover. We've got water cooling, and we've got oil cooling in this as well. And it's all very clever. For example, certain things can be cooled and certain things can be kept warm. Like the cylinder head can be kept cold because it's better that way, and the crankcase can be kept warmer separately, both controlled by water, so you have less friction in the crankcase, but you get a higher output thanks to the cold cylinder head. And it's little things like this that have allowed AMG thus to push the power even higher and to keep this engine even more reliable for extended use on racetracks. So it is quite the masterpiece. The other thing, which is more important for us, is the torque curve. What they've done is something called torque shaping, and they've changed the torque curve of this engine now to match that of a naturally aspirated engine. You get the maximum torque between 5,000 to 5,250 RPM, and generally when you drive it, the response is immediate. It's very much like a natural engine, and you'll see a lot more of that later on when we go for a drive. The M139 engine is then linked to the 8-speed dual clutch gearbox. Of course, you've got an AMG specific steering setup in this, which is really fantastic, as you'll see later. It's got two modes, one for comfort and one for sportier steering. But then a lot more has been done, specifically with regards to rigidity, which is so important for a car to feel nimble. And as we saw with the A45S, very, very nimble feeling car, despite even a weight of this car of being around about 1,700 kilos, which actually isn't that different to the coupe, which is a good thing. Anyway, back to the rigidity. First of all, we got a large aluminium shear panel which has been bolted at the bottom. Again, this helps with torsional rigidity. You've got another strut that goes across the two suspension towers on the front, again, for the same purpose. And we've got more struts, diagonal ones, both on the front and the rear, again, to help with rigidity. All of this is done in addition to whatever was done on the 35 AMGs. So a lot of focus on rigidity to help with self-steering and the ability to manage the weight of the car to make it feel as nimble as possible. And then, of course, there is the 4MATIC system. So this is an all-wheel drive car, but it has a party trick, which is the fully rear-wheel drive drift mode. That's done by the use of two separate multi-disc clutches in the rear of the car. This is very much like the Focus RS method of doing a drift mode. So you can have as much power as you want going to either wheel, and then you've got essentially a kind of a drift mode going on. The front axle still has the limited slip diff like the previous version of the car did. Of course, you've got AMG specific suspension in this. All of it has been improved in order to increase your lateral dynamics at the limit, but to increase the comfort of the car as well. So you've got three-stage suspension in this: Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus. This is all done with a 4-link setup on the rear, which is bolted in for maximum rigidity. We've got a McPherson strut on the front with a single aluminium wishbone, which reduces the weight of that. But generally, altogether, gives more breadth of ability for this car, both on the sporty side and the comfort side, as you'll see later. Then, of course, the design. I love the design of the shooting brake. The front, just like the CLA, has got a wider front end than the normal car. You've got extended arches, you've got exceedingly aggressive lower air intakes. This one sadly is closed, but regardless of that, in the gloss black looks really good. It really sets itself apart from the normal CLA 35, which I love because I hate the fact that we have so many AMGs, and you want your 60 grand top dog shooting brake to look different to the normal 35. Of course, you've got the Panamericana grille. I think the lights are probably the nicest on any Mercedes-Benz, bar none. And then when you look at the rear is absolutely breathtaking, in my opinion. I love the rear lights. They work even better on the shooting brake than they did on the coupe. You've got a nice little spoiler on top. The lower diffuser is huge, especially with this aerodynamic package on the car. The tips are massive at I think 83 millimeters, which are just a little bit shy of the 63 pipes actually. So in reality, they're actually quite large. But just that general shape of a gorgeous coupe-like wagon, I'm just in love with shooting brakes. It's such a shame that this is one of the few ones available in the world right now. But as you'll see when we go on the drive, it is a cracking car to drive. And all of these changes, be it with the design, with the unique look of the AMG, from all the suspension changes, the rigidity, the unique engine developed specifically for this car, you can see that this is a proper flagship AMG. But equally, it has to drive that way. It's got to sound that way. Otherwise, us AMG customers aren't going to be happy. The aerodynamic package adds so much with the gloss black details, the flicks on the front end. Of course, you've got a more aggressive rear diffuser because of it as well. And on a shooting brake, I think it looks even better than it did on the coupe. Of course, you get the multi-spoke wheels exactly the same as on the E63S. Nothing on this car in terms of the upgrades made for the AMG version are something that you'd find from Partsbin. They're instead right from the 63 AMGs in the GT series. Now, it's really important that we look how much more practical the interior of this car is. So let's go and have a look at that now, including the boot space, the rear space, and some of that lovely interior. Right, let's first start by checking out the boot space. Aperture is much larger than the previous gen of the shooting brake. This is pretty good, you know. This was an awesome tracking car, by the way, yesterday. There's loads of space in this. Fit a fat boy like me. Not bad. Now, I happen to have some Pilot Sport Cup 2s here for my CS. Let's see how many tyres you could fit in this. So I think even without folding the rear seats, you could probably fit in about 3 tyres in the back, which isn't bad for a little estate, is it? Particularly in shooting brake form. In the rear, headroom's decent. I'm about 5'10". I've got good headroom here. I don't think it's that much different to the coupe. Perhaps a little bit improved, in fact. I heard some comments saying, is it worse? Can't imagine why it would be worse. But yeah, it's nice and roomy, good leg room as well, thanks to the bucket seats and them being slim. It's a nice place to sit in, the shooting brake. But more important perhaps is the parent test, given that this is quite the family vehicle. And as you can see, even with a large child seat in there, good space for your kid to lie down and go to sleep. And when it's set back, nice and spacious still. The interior is the usual 45S flavour, full bucket seats from AMG in the 45S version. You get the drive control units as well. Not sure about the stickers for AMG on the trim here, but the ambient lighting, etc. It's a really nice place to be. MBUX, very powerful. To learn more about the operating system, check any of our past 45 or A-Class family reviews, and you'll get a good understanding of how that works. But all of this stuff falls to the background. This is not important. This is the Mercedes-Benz side of stuff. What's important in an AMG, first of all, is the startup. New cars all sound shit, but I feel I need to clarify something about that. We have certain expectations of AMGs versus everyone else, which is why I think we're harder on them, given their history of some of the best sounding cars ever made, to be fair. So when they release cars that don't sound as good as they used to, we're a lot harder on them, but it's unfair. Most of the new cars I've driven recently, and I'm going to focus on maybe, I think the RS6 was a very good example, and something like my M2 CS, both very special cars, both very expensive cars, both sound pretty rubbish, to be honest. Both need a Krapovich exhaust systems, as I've ordered for my M2 CS. This, however, this CLA 45S, much like the A45S, when you turn it on with the motion start, you get some nice pops and bangs out of it, even in this generation. And that's the thing with AMG, you still get some of the sound flavour that we used to get, which is fantastic. But we're so hard on them because of what the cars used to be like. I mean, this car, as you'll see, actually does sound really good on the run, despite the fact you're getting sound pumped in. Anyway, The thing about these 45S cars is just how bloody quick they are, each and every one. I'm hoping the shooting brake is the same. We're going to measure it, in fact, on track pace here and see what reading we get for the drag race. I think it's going to be sub 4 second. Let's take a look right now. I'm in Sport Plus. Let's do a launch start. There you go, 3.89 seconds. 3.89 seconds in this rather spacious shooting brake CLA. That is super quick. Oh my God, it's so fast and so agile. I've forgotten how good these 45S cars are. The last car that gave me this kind of driving confidence was probably a 911, and that didn't have the speed that this thing does. 130 miles per hour I just hit. These new 45Ss are so incredibly fast. Yes, I'm getting sound pumped in the speakers. I don't really care because of just how agile and nimble the car feels. I'm so glad I'm saying that as well, because that's something I loved about the A45, is just how light it feels on its feet. You know, for a car that weighs 1,700 kilos, it does not feel anything like that weight. It feels so nimble on its feet. Part of it is just how brilliant the steering on the 45S cars is. I mean, it's head and shoulders above most of the new BMW products I've driven. I mean, I feel it's as direct, if not more so, than on my M2 CS as well. The feedback you get from this thing makes you feel like you can place the wheels anywhere you want on the road in a short amount of time. There's hardly any understeer, which is a big thing in the old version. The 4MATIC Plus, forget the drift mode. It's more about getting a bit of playfulness in the rear, because more power ends up going to the rear. It feels a bit more rear-wheel drive than the old version ever did. And then the power on offer, 421 brake horsepower, bang for buck on this is incredible. It feels like it's got 500 horsepower plus. I mean, over the short span that I've had this car, I've called it lose your license fast. That's how quick this CLA feels. It's not just in the low speeds. I mean, at the moment I'm doing, what, 90 something miles per hour. I put my foot down and there's loads and loads of reserves of power. But the car has got the dynamic ability to handle it. And I had my doubts. I thought maybe the shooting brake won't do the same thing that the A45S does. I think this is my favourite out of the entire range. You get more sound than the CLA Coupe because you haven't got the restriction of the boot. This is a hatchback like the A45. So you're getting all of the sound that you do in the A45S. By the way, the cars that I've driven in the UK, much more in terms of pops and bangs than we got in the European ones. Allow me to demonstrate that. I think the pumped in sound is a bit too much. It can be a little bit irritating. What I would love to do is find an exhaust system that works for these 45S cars and get it on one. Even Chris Harris said in his interview with me that once these reach a certain price level on the used market, he would have one. I would as well. I would get one. I would put an exhaust that brings back some of that deep grumble and burble of the first generation of the 45s. And then I would laugh my way home because the way that this car behaves. Now this is the other problem you see. This car is so exciting to drive. I'm sitting here thinking, why would we want the 4-cylinder C63 that's coming up? Maybe I'm answering my own question. Maybe that's going to be so good being more than 500 brake horsepower with this engine, with the E-turbo, that we'll forget about the entire sound aspect, because let's be honest, this doesn't sound amazing. Yeah, you get some pops and bangs. The revs are a little bit annoying, to be honest. It's more the dynamism of the car that I'm enjoying, how quick it is, how nimble it is on its feet. But then this is so good. How much better could the C Class be? I just don't know. Will it have the USP it needs in order to stand apart from something so brilliant like this? For that, only time will tell. Until then, this is one of the few new AMGs that I would really love to own. It's a great daily. The space you get, the looks of this thing on the outside. We need more performance shooting brakes, guys. We need them. They just look incredible, don't they? It's days like these that remind me why AMG is so close to my heart. Despite the challenges that lie ahead, driving a car like this gives me confidence that these guys really know what they're doing. The CLA 45S in shooting brake form is my favourite 45 so far out of all of the generations. It's one of the most practical Mercedes-Benz you can drive. The technology of MBUX inside is fantastic, but it's the performance that stands out. It is the most nimble little estate you'll ever drive, and that is the brilliance of AMG's engineers. So guys, if you've enjoyed this, please do like, subscribe and share this video. I've still got some time with this car, and I'm going to enjoy it to the max. See you next time. Big thanks to Stereo for sponsoring today's episode. Download the app, follow me and join me for live shows.